My wife and I have been together for going on 2 years married, and we've been together for almost 4 years total. And being in that relationship, I have learned a lot, and I'm sure my wife has as well. Today, we're going to talk a little bit about the men's side of a marriage specifically. And I guess if you're dating to marry, we can talk about that as well. The things that I have learned, we're going to talk about three key things I've learned while being married and being a husband, about how I can be a better husband and how I can serve my family better. And if you guys stay tuned until the end, I'm going to give you guys one secret insight that I have taken away from my marriage on how you guys can better care for and be better partners with each other. So stay tuned. What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of Better Men Daily. Real quick, if you guys are watching this on YouTube, please go ahead and drop a like on this video if you are enjoying the content. And if you want to see more content like it, please go ahead and subscribe to the channel. If you guys are watching or listening rather on Spotify or Apple, welcome. Thank you for tuning into this episode. Today we're going to talk about marriage. And marriage is important to talk about even if you're not married yet, because I'm going to give you guys some tips and tricks and lessons that I've learned. Granted, I haven't been married all that long, but me and my wife have been together for 4 years, and we've been through a lot in those 4 years together. And hopefully I can give you guys some sort of wisdom if you're not married yet, or if you guys are married and just trying to improve your marriage, give you guys some things that I have learned. I'm going to talk about three specifically that I have learned that have improved my marriage and helped me be a better husband. And if you guys stick around to the end, I'm going to give you guys one key secret that I've learned to be a better husband. One, I don't want to say magic bullet because there is no magic bullet for marriage and marital improvement, but I'm going to give you guys one tip or one piece of advice that I have learned in being married that will help you be a better husband. So without further ado, let's get right into it, guys. Let's make sure we make the most of this time. So we're going to talk about item number one, which is sacrifice, sacrifice, sacrifice. Now, my wife and I, like I said, we've been together for almost 4 years, and we have been married for almost 2. And in that time, there's been a lot of sacrifice on both ends. And specifically when referring to men, we're going to talk about the sacrifice that Christ made for us, and that's what we want to exemplify in our marriage as husbands. And even if you don't believe in Jesus, and even if you aren't a Christian, that story of Jesus and the sacrifice he made out of love for his children can be a key factor in motivation and inspiration for you to exemplify that sacrifice in your own marriage as a husband. In Christianity, we teach that Jesus is the groom and the church is the bride, and he died for his church. He literally, willingly, without a fight even, gave up his life for his church. So we are called to do the exact same thing as husbands. We are called to sacrifice for our wives, and that is, in a lot of ways, that can be emotionally sacrifice, that can be sacrifice with your time, with your energy. It can be a sacrifice of needing to do things you don't want to in order to take care of your family. That sacrifice can look different in a lot of ways. In my marriage, personally, those sacrifices have looked a lot different and have been a lot of different things, but a lot of them revolve around taking jobs that maybe I didn't necessarily want because I knew that the long-term payoff was going to be better for my family. That can look like sacrificing and taking the high road. That can look like bowing out during an argument. That can look like a lot of different things in a marriage. And for me, I've pretty much covered them all, and so has my wife. But the number one thing that I see in all good marriages, and not just talking about my own marriage, but talking about marriages of friends of ours and members of our church, the one thing I've seen is sacrifice. And that includes even as a father, guys. If you have no kids yet, that's fine. But if you do have a kid, that can mean even if you worked a whole long day and you're exhausted and you don't feel like doing anything else, that means taking the kids away from mom for a little while so that she can go get her life straight and go take a shower. And at least, feel like a human again if she's been at home all day with the kids. Or that can also look like courting your wife still and dating your wife still, even if you guys have been together for a while. And that sacrifice blends into item number 2, which I just briefly brought up, which is courting your wife or dating your wife, which is something you hear a lot in, married, especially Christian communities, where you need to still date your wife, but it's true. Obviously, life happens and you have kids and you got a busy job and everything's a hassle, and all of a sudden you guys don't have all the free time you used to. And we're guilty of it too. I mean, when my wife and I first started dating, we had hours on hours on hours on end to spend together when we first started dating. And now, like, we're lucky to get an hour per night. And that's just the reality for a lot of married couples. But that means being intentional and making time for one another. And what that means for us as men and as husbands is to take the initiative on that and set aside sacred days and sacred times that is your family time. And specifically, that is you and your wife time, to make sure that you are still dating each other, so to speak, and getting to go out together, even if it's just for a quick dinner, or if you go watch a game or a movie together, like, that counts. But you gotta, as a man, take that initiative and take that step to make sure that you're still courting her. In full honesty, this isn't one that I have excelled in. This is one that I actually struggle a lot with, and it's just because of the sheer amount that my wife and I have on our plate. But, I still make that effort to make sure we're still having at least like one day a week. Like, for us in our house, I know that Sundays are our sacred day. That's our day we go to church, and then when we come home from church, we spend the most time together out of any other day of the week. And, that, if you have to do that, if you're that busy, then so be it. But you as the man have to take charge and take the initiative to make sure that you are creating and fostering an environment that's safe, not just physically, but emotionally. And that is a big part of that. And that brings us to item number 3 that we're going to discuss in this video. Making sure that you apologize is key. And that's not even just, like, it sounds funny when a husband says that, like, just say sorry and move on. But I mean more so in the terms of fair fighting. There's going to be times where you and your wife or you and your girlfriend, if you're dating to marry, are going to get into bad arguments, and you guys are going to both say things that you don't mean. And there may be times where she was probably justified to lash back, and there's going to be times where you were justified to lash back. But what I've learned in our marriage is that if we come back and apologize and work through it regardless, it doesn't matter who was right and wrong, we can discuss that later. And we can discuss that even in that moment. But the thing we need to lead off with is apologies, because we all get into our feelings and we all say things to people that we love that we don't mean. So I'm no exception to that. I know there's a lot of people that are listening or watching this that are the same way. So you need to make sure that, especially once again, as the man, being a man and being a husband and being a head of household is all about taking initiative and taking the lead on these kinds of things. So we need to make sure that we are apologizing first. And even if we were justified, that's okay, because there's going to come a time where she's justified too at some point. So it's not like it's just an unfair flip-flop. So just apologize for anything that is out of line, and then you guys hash it out and you can move on. And that is item number 3, guys. That's the 3 we're going to go through in this video. Now, as promised, if you guys made it to the end here, which I appreciate you, if you're still watching or listening, we're going to talk about that one thing that we can do as husbands and as fathers and as men, heads of household, to continue to excel in everything in our marriages. And it's going to sound cliche, but that one piece of advice is to do your job. It's that simple. And that doesn't mean it's going to be perfect all the time, and that doesn't mean that it is going to go well all the time. But if you talk to my wife, the number one thing she's going to say, out of all the things that I've done that proves my love to her, if you ask her from her point of view, she's not going to say, oh, well, he called me pretty, or he takes me out, or he lets me stay at home, or buys nice things, or he provides a safe environment. That's not what she's going to say. She's going to say that I work hard, and that I sacrifice, and that I'm manly. And if you're in a traditional relationship, that is all it takes sometimes. Like, I'm not perfect by any means, and there's a lot of times where I probably even do more harm than good, because some of my soft skills are probably not up to par with what they should be, and that's something that I'm still working on. But as a whole, I do know that I wake up every day and I try to be the best husband and father that I can be. And sometimes that's all it takes, is to just show up. And if you're present and you show up, that's what they're going to remember. So there's my one key piece of advice that I think has been most crucial for me in my relationship with my wife. And hopefully that is of some value to you guys. And hopefully you gain something from any of the tips or any of the pieces of advice that I've learned in this video. Now, I appreciate you guys making it to the end. If you guys are watching on YouTube once again and you enjoyed this video, please go ahead, drop a like, and go ahead and subscribe if you guys are feeling called to and feeling like you're enjoying and getting a lot out of this content and want to see more. And if you guys are watching on Apple Podcasts or listening on Apple Podcasts or listening on Spotify, thank you for tuning in and listening. If you guys are enjoying these podcasts, please go ahead and follow the podcast. Helps boost me in the algorithm, and it'll keep you in the loop for when new videos come out. So that's going to be it for me today, guys. I appreciate you watching as always. Have a good day and take care.